Hey guys, Marcus C. Williams here, and I just wanted to take a moment and talk about the issues with the correctional facilities and the thing with Robert Brooks and his unfortunate demise, as well as the correction officers being on strike. Usually, I don't talk a lot about stuff like that right now because I'm more so focused on what's going on in the city. And even when I do my shows and stuff like that, I usually talk about national or international politics. But I've seen something online over the last couple of weeks, and I haven't liked it. The whole conversation, there's no honesty or earnesty in it. You understand what I'm saying? Because you got two groups that have very, very related issues, both screaming that the other side is wrong and that they're doing it for their own purposeful means and stuff like that, and that's not acceptable. What happened to Robert Brooks should have never happened. It should never happen to anybody else in the future. The issues and the conditions that are going on with the correctional officers should not be going on, and it should never go on again in the future. Because when people are not having the adequate time to actually have time off, they're working 16, 18, 24 hours a day inside a prison or something like that. Like, that's not cool. Like, who wants to work in that type of an environment? That's not good for your mental health. That's not good for your physical health. And if you look at the issues that a lot of them are talking about with the things like the HALT Act and stuff like that, it's made it more dangerous in the prison for not just the correctional officers, but also for prisoners. This is a continued trend that we're seeing where things become teamified in our society. So everybody's like, oh, my team is right, so your team has to 100% be wrong. Like, are we serious? Like, we're not having a good conversation or a comprehensive conversation, which I talk a lot about comprehensive prison reform. I'm a Republican. I'm the only person you'll hear talk about comprehensive prison reform. None of the Democrat elected officials talk about it, even though they say they care about these people in the prisons and stuff like that. That's not saying that you, who might be registered as a Democrat, don't care, but that's saying that the elected officials don't care that are Democrat, even though they try to say that they do. Because what have they done? Nothing. They've done nothing on the issue of comprehensive prison reform. Every now and then they'll give you a little meager piece of scraps to say, oh, look, we did something. But they don't want to solve the whole issue, because if they did, then you might say, oh, well, we don't need as much of you anymore. And, they have to make sure that they have job security. So that's a serious issue, but we'll talk about that another time. Right now, what I'm seeing is the people that are all mad at the correction officers and the prisons for what happened to Mr. Brooks and his unfortunate demise have a very, very, very strong reason to feel some type of way. But it doesn't take away from the fact that the correction officers that work at these facilities are undergoing horrible conditions, and they have a right to feel some type of way. Now, two things can be right at the same time. The correction officers can have an issue with the long hours, the lack of ability to have accountability and, what would you say, discipline for prisoners that are not performing as they should, and people that believe that there is abuse and stuff going on inside the correctional facilities also can have a point. How come we can't have 2 points at the same time? Neither point is mutually exclusive. Like, you don't just have to believe one is true and the other one isn't. Like, that's not how the real world works. Honestly, both of those things play indirectly into each other. If correction officers aren't able to get adequate sleep, adequate food, adequate time for mental health and stuff like that, do you think that they're going to be the best at their job? You understand what I'm saying? Secondly, do you think that they're going to be able to hold on to and retain the best employees for that position? No, they're going to leave. I just left church. A church member of ours works at one of the correctional facilities in Attica, and now they've got to go out there because now they're going to have to work more and stuff like that because people are leaving. There's a massive amount of attrition. That's people leaving from those type of positions. It was bad before the issue with Robert Brooks, but now it's even worse because people are like, I just don't want to deal with the headache, because now it's even worse than what it was before. So now the few that are left, the people that are willing to continue to work there to do the job that's already very intensive, are overburdened even more. So we know that anybody that's overburdened and overstressed, generally they're going to become more aggressive, they're going to become more anxious, they're going to have a lower threshold of tolerance for a lot of stuff that if you were more relaxed, had more time off, had better assistance with mental health, had more vacation time, had better pay, stuff like that would be less of an issue. You understand? And then that affects how they interact with prisoners as well. But also we have the issue with, they're talking about the HALT Act, where, that's part of the issue with the solitary confinement and a couple of other things with the HALT Act. I'm not a big person on solitary confinement, but I do understand that with the HALT Act is not good and it needs to be amended. But also the fact that prisons, what would you call them, correctional facilities or rehabilitation facilities, aren't really set up to rehabilitate or correct any of the issues that are going on. Why is that? Again, elected officials don't want to actually address those issues. They're closing a whole bunch of prisons right now, and as you can see in our community, they don't even want to lock up criminals. That's why we got all these criminals running amok. But they're closing down prisons, and then the governor is putting all this money into remodeling and changing the prisons into living quarters. Living quarters for who? Who about to live in a prison? That sounds suspicious and suspect. You understand what I'm saying? That don't sound right. Don't nobody want to live in something that used to be a prison. Suspicious. You guys wake up. These elected officials prefer us to be at each other's throats so that we don't hold them accountable. The people that are mad at the issue with Robert Brooks are mad at the correctional officers that participated in that fiasco. Rightfully so. But you know who they really need to be at? The state assembly and the state senators who refuse to actually address the fact that there are no corrections and there is no rehabilitation in prisons. Can we talk about that? There's no opportunities for them to be able to provide for themselves when they come out of prison. Can we talk about that? Why don't they address those issues? Oh, because then they might actually work to fix them. And if they fix the issues, they wouldn't be issues that they can talk about all the time. You understand? They're trying to play us. Then you look at the issues with the correction officers, The correction officers are mad at the state. They're mad at the state assembly, but can't nobody hear them right now because you got the other voice talking about the Robert Brooks issue, dwarfing the issue with the correction officers, So both of them are competing for airtime at the same time. Both of them are very serious issues, and both of them roll right together as far as the issues being completely in relation to the jacked up prison system. But we can't talk about it as a whole thing because everything's so teamified. You either got to be on this side or you got to be on that side. You can't talk about both at the same time, even though both are very serious issues. And I'll leave you with this, right? Because a lot of the stuff that I've heard with the Robert Brooks thing is people that I thought have been detracting from the very serious nature of that issue. They're like, oh, it's racism and it's this and it's that. And are you serious, bro? Like, it's racism? Like, do you have proof of racism for that? No. I always ask. I say, can you prove that it's racism? No. But you know what it is? It's dereliction of duty, okay? And it's malfeasance. But we can't have that conversation because you out there talking about something 3 sheets to the wind. You understand? Like, we need to have the real conversations. Like, maybe if you can show me that afterward, we can get past the first thing, which is the most important, which is the malfeasance and the dereliction of duty. But you want to jump to the racism part, Somebody today, a friend of mine that had done some time in prison for a while was like, there are these issues with the security, what do you call them? The little cameras, you know what I'm talking about. The body cams, right? So they're like, oh, they don't want body cams because they don't want to be responsible or whatever the case is. I said, what? I said, that's the first time I've heard anybody in this conversation even really talk about the body cams, and that they want more body cams or something like that, right? So, like, I kind of think I might have heard about that, like, in passing, but because of the type of conversations that are being had surrounding that conversation, which he brought up to me, which I wasn't even thinking about, I'm like, man, that's an important thing to talk about. maybe we should talk about that. Maybe there should be more body worn cameras. Maybe there is something wrong with how they have them on, or the procedures as far as that goes. I don't know, because we don't talk about it. But that's talking about something very important when they don't want you to talk about important things, because they want you to either be on this side or that side, because when you're either on this side or that side, we can't have constructive conversations. And that way the people in power stay in power, and the issues of the community never get addressed. So that's what I got to say on the matter. Let's have more open conversations so that we can actually address the comprehensive issues that we're having. The whole system is jacked up. You guys already know how I feel. I'll catch you guys later. Be blessed and be well. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action.